Many thanks for staying with us and welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. It's time now to review headlines in today's newspapers with Ombudsman of This Day and Arise Media Group and This Day Newspaper Limited's Group Executive Director, Kayode Komolafe. Good morning, KK.
Good morning, Abby.
Good morning, KK. Good morning, sir.
And good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Komolafe.
And once more, my deepest condolences.
Thank you very much,
your mother.
Mr. Komolafe. Thank you.
Let's take heart.
Thank you all, too.
All right. Thank you, KK. So we proceed, of course, as always, with This Day on Sunday, where the lead story says, Housing Allowance. Records of meetings showed PDP NWC members voted before disbursement of funds. And the writer here says, Atiku never discussed 2027 presidency with Wike, says Melaye. Former VP Okowa, Wabara, hint of speedy resolution of party's crisis. Delta governor meets with PDP BOT members. On top of that story, 2023 offers you golden opportunity to sack APC. Peter Obi tells Nigerians. Supporters defy rain. Police to hold massive rallies for Obi in Lagos and other cities. On top of that, of the masthead, the story that readers will find on page 10, the headline says 2023 election, APC chieftains unfazed despite nullification of Oyetola's nomination by court. And on top of that, on the window, in first major deal, NNPCL acquires downstream assets of OVH Energy, emerges company with highest retail petrol stations in Africa. We are bringing 45 years of experience, says Kiari. And I think that we should also acknowledge the cover picture, which is to celebrate Nigeria at 62. That's President Muhammadu Buhari with the former President Goodluck Jonathan and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo with his wife, and of course Jonathan's wife, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, celebrating Nigeria's anniversary, 62nd anniversary in Abuja yesterday. Those are the stories, KK.
Yeah. The first thing to talk about is the photo story. As I said, that is the Independence anniversary. I think it is important, to raise this point that increasingly, especially the upcoming generation, the importance of October 1, in our national calendar, is increasingly, coming in decline, and the immediate explanation for that would be because of the problems, the disappointments, the frustration, people. Despite that, there is still a lot to celebrate in nationhood. Those who actually experienced the indignity, the inhumanity of colonial bondage, we know the importance of National Day. For more than 200 years now, Americans still hold July 4, as a very important date. They've had government, they've passed through, they had wars, they've had all kinds of experience, but that does not diminish, that's point of nation. So it should be stressed,
yes.
That whatever we might be going through, whatever may be the problem, where the differences, the celebration of our nationhood is very important, and that what we need are people who are unhesitatingly, Nigerian nationalists, to believe that, the first thing, all these challenges we're talking about, the first word is to build a nation. We have to have a nation first, before we talk of different approaches to development. We talk of who holds power, how do we, arrange it, And I think that is the point, that the leaders, shown in the picture, President Buhari, former President Jonathan, the Vice President and their spouses, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Gbajabiamila, are having, I think, is important, and it is a task, for those who are in charge, of national orientation, and also leaders, not just by words but also by examples, to stress, this importance. For the other stories, the political stories, to contrasting, we could say that while the supporters of Mr. Obi, the candidate of the president candidate of the Labour Party, are already, demonstrating their strength, on the street. The other parties, especially the main parties, APC and PDP, consider they are still busy trying to put their machine in order, that's that they have, PDP is still in the business of the controversy of whether allowances are paid, to members. The wiki question is yet, to be fully resolved. APC is still, grappling with the list of his presidential, campaign. But all told, I think one positive thing, is happening, and that is that there's already a momentum in place. And that momentum, I think that it is a positive one in the sense that more and more Nigerians, especially, of the younger generation, are getting interested, becoming more and more interested in how the fate of the country is determined, And that is, I think, while, the prognosis that the 2023 election is going to be a different election, I think it is quite a legitimate prognosis. Because unlike other, if you collect in the previous election, the problem has only been that of apathy, which ultimately manifests on the day of the election. Then we have maybe less than 35% of registered voters, turning up, to vote, and even in the course of electioneering, that who are not interested. But to close that on the political story, I think while this momentum is there, and I think it should be properly channeled, and not properly structured, in the sense that yes, as they say politics is half theater, and elections essentially they are supposed to be festivals of democracy, that you have all these activities, that you have all this exciting moment, but we must also be conscious of the content, because just like Waziri Adio, a columnist with this, argues eloquently on the page today, that we should also look at the political messaging, the content of this, that while the young people are interested, not just the young people, other Nigerians, because that is the point that people, should also, take note of, the enthusiasm, about 2023 is intergenerational. Perhaps what you can see is a new dimension is that increasingly you have, young people in media. But then you have to look at the content of this enthusiasm that, that when people get together, it's not just enough to, promote the slogan of your political party or your candidate, but we should also be interested in discussing the issues of the election. So when people, promote, their partisan position, we must be interested, in actually addressing the issues. For example, I mean, what are the positions? What are the different approaches to solve, the power conundrum? For instance, what is this alternative, solution, to the problem of insecurity? When you talk of job creation, beyond slogan, what does it mean in concrete terms? What are those things, the nitty-gritty of what should be done? So the discussion of this, should also, preoccupy us as a nation, and those who are showing interest, who are becoming, enthusiasts, of the 2023 process, should be interested in it. And I think that point we must continue to stress, that it's not just all theater, but also we are actually facing a challenge, and that is making a very crucial choice in 2023. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Abby?
Should we look
Okay,
at the style?
right. On of this day's style, we've got a very famous Nigerian model and beauty queen, Shatu Garko. She is now 19 years old. She shot into fame and popularity last year for being the first hijabi Muslim Nigerian model that will take this role, which of course shatters a lot of existing stereotypes around the place for northern girls, for Nigerian northern girls, in terms of pageantry, beauty pageantry and all that. So it's interesting to have her on this edition of this celebration around Nigeria's independence on the cover of this day. Absolutely.
Nigeria,
cultural diversity, the richness, of our culture, and also promoting cultural nationalism. Yeah.
I think it makes a perfect cover for
it really does.
Celebrating Nigeria's independence.
It's very apt.
And
Is she a professional model?
Yes,
well, now
she
she is
Now
a professional model. But, I read her story once where she talked about how she, wanted to participate in this pageant. She came under fire. She had a lot of backlash, especially, from the, her religion and all of that.
The Hisba police.
Correct, the Hisba police and all of that. And she talked about trying to convince her father to, allow her join the competition. And she talked about how hard it was. It kind of reminded me of my story. And, she talked about her mother's support. And I thought it was quite brilliant that she, was strong enough to move ahead,
forge ahead
and do it.
And she won the crown. Look at that. She was rewarded for that. All that strength and confidence to go for it, right?
That's also the Ginic story, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which we have to tell.
One day. Congratulations, Ms. Shaftu.
Congratulations to us. And it's a beautiful one on a day that Nigeria has been celebrated.
Right. Very befitting.
Lovely. This should be a career boost for her, actually, I believe. This cover.
Absolutely.
I think so.
Right. All right.
And what she has aligns with what KK's cap. By the way,
but Kike is always represented,
unhesitatingly in Nigerian nationality, and I believe we have a lot to celebrate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Freedom from colonial bondage. Yes.
I like that.
Thank you very much.
Well. All right, we shall move over to The Guardian. And the lead story there, Nigeria at 62. Leaders pray for peace, unity, and progress. We touched on that a little bit earlier. Now, other stories there. Obedience locked down Lagos, Bauchi, Calabar, Uyo, and other states. NNPC acquires Owando's OVH, takes over 380 filling stations. Pan-Yoruba groups tackle Pa Adebanjo-led Afenifere over Obi's endorsement. Those are the stories, Mr. Komolafe. I'd like to talk, I think we talked about the obedience earlier. The march, if you would like to touch on that, and also the fight over Obi's endorsement by the group, by the Pa Adebanjo-led Afenifere group.
Yes, I've talked about the obedient movement. I was saying that there's something positive in that, but the suggestion is that it should also be giving a greater content. That is, people also should be discussing program, policies, political messaging, with deep content. Now, as for I think I know Steve is enamored with his Ohanifere concept.
Ohanifere, yes.
So I will not be surprised if Steve does a thesis, on the principles and practice of Ohanifere. I think what is happening with Afenifere's endorsement, there's nothing new about it. In 2019, Afenifere endorsed Atiku Abubakar.
Right. You mentioned it last week.
In 2015, Afenifere endorsed Jonathan Goodluck. And as a group, our constitution is legitimate. It's within their rights. It's a group. And I'm talking of a group of respected Yoruba leaders.
Yes.
One thing you must notice in all this thing is that even what you call controversy, nobody has questioned the legitimacy of Afenifere, making a choice. But all what we are saying, which is also democratic, is that, yes, that is the view of Afenifere. And Afenifere is not the only Yoruba, what you call, socio-cultural group, which is a euphemism, for, partisan platform, as far as I'm concerned, that they are also contesting that, okay, yes, you have made your choice, but you are not speaking for us. That also is also democratic. So while you concede to Afenifere people to make their choice, so it should also be understood that those who also think, differently, But generally, on a more philosophical level, I think it could have been good, like a colleague, argued, I think about a year ago, Shegun Ayobolu, a columnist, that perhaps these, what we call the socio-cultural groups like Afenifere or Aneze, Arewa Consultative Council, the South-South platform, led by people like that, perhaps it could have been neater if they don't get themselves involved into narrow, partisan position, Because by definition, they speak, for the various, geopolitical zones, They are Afenifere with a long history. You know, by the way, Afenifere is not an emergency organization just formed now. You know, it's an organization that is more than 70 years old.
That's correct.
You know, and has been, you know, passed through, you know, various places. You know, that is, so if these organizations, if they are speaking for a whole ethnic group or a particular zone, it's just logical, you know, that not everybody in a particular zone, in a particular ethnic group cannot have the same partisan position, especially in a multi-party democracy. That perhaps they should have, you know, a broader view, you know, generally about governance, about direction of things, and not PGO. But it is their choice. Like I said, it's their democratic choice. So if they are choosing to get them, you know, PGO into a particular a partisan platform, then they expect that others will also contest it. So I say what is happening is quite healthy. It is democratic. It is not unexpected. And I dare say again, there is nothing new about it.
For me, Sami, you are right. I like the coinage. I like the poetic license that it, you know, conveys, you know, two different cultures and ethnic groups, you know, coming together. If you take Peter Obi factor away from it, I like what it portends. You know, the Ohanefere, the Ohanese and the Afenifere and the Ohanefere. Why is Oha the soup coming to my mind? You know, with
I'm sure you know why.
Well, Steve.
All right,
There must be some culinary reasons for that.
2 minutes before we go, let's quickly treat the Sunday Tribune. The banner lead headline says, "Panic in APC over Abuja court ruling. Tinubu, Ekiti governor-elect. Other candidates threatened. Ruling party won't have valid candidates for 2023 poll." If that's from the lawyer gentleman Ajulo, you know, talking about the Buni-led APC caretaker committee. There's nothing to worry about. Morka Oyetola's aide. We are studying the development, PDP. 2 or 3 other important stories on the cover of Tribune today. It is fight to the finish. ASU vows. Commends members' resilience over strike. Beyond 7 months, we're going into 8 months now. Still no resolution in place. Nigeria has 137 porous, unprotected borders in the north. That's according to the Chief of Defense Staff. Reveals terrorists access country easily from neighboring countries. I'm not sure if the Chief of Defense Staff is telling us anything new, but then what are we doing about it? And lastly, we can but keep, you know, interrogating what the president said yesterday. I share in your pains, Buhari tells Nigerians. Amidst hardship, leaders express hope of better future. CUPP, governors, minority reps urge citizens to vote wisely in 2023. When they ask people to vote wisely, is there some kind of hidden wisdom in how you're expected to vote, or is about who you vote for? KK, this is Tribune for you.
Yeah, you know that your choice should be informed, you know, and that you should have all the information at your disposal. But you know that it's a euphemism of saying that you should vote for who I prepared. You know, but it just
is a euphemism for what? KK?
You know, when I ask you to vote wisely,
yes,
take it as a euphemism for me for saying that vote for the person I prefer. My preferred candidate, you know. Yes, maybe you can only take maybe the lead story, the political story on the front page of Tribune. You know, I think it's a reminder of the fact that, you know, as we move in this dispensation, as we proceed in the democratic process, that the sanctity of political parties, you know, as democratic institutions, as vital democratic institutions, should be respected. I think the problem, APC, what you call panic now, APC is paying, you know, is paying for, you know, its error, you know,
that's right.
in trying, acting in 2020, you know, by not respecting the sanctity of the political party, you know, because it is clear now,
and
you know, all the conspiracy of getting Oshemole out of it, you know, for no reason, and for which nobody has ever accused him of party. You know. And for 2 years, the party, against its own constitution, was run by a caretaker committee and was just held in suspended animation. You know, nothing was happening. Now, some of the steps taken that time, which were clearly in error, and which, by the way, some lawyers within the party pointed out that it was in error. But because of the larger politics of trying to get Oshomole out of the way. Now they are paying for it now. But I think the implications of it...
And we know the politics of getting Oshomole out. The target, was another person. And it turned
let us leave it at that. What I'm saying now is that, APC is paying for for that conspiracy, against Oshomole. It actually made no sense, politically, what they did.
All right, KK, thank you so much again for another brilliant outing today.
Thank you so much.
All right, that brings us to the end of the morning show today. Thank you for watching and do stay safe. I'm Steve Ayorinde.
I'm Abby Owolawi.
And I'm Oji Okwe. From our entire team here in Lagos, Nigeria, enjoy the rest of your morning and, of course, the rest of your day. Goodbye.